So
How you feeling? You nervous?
no, I'm not. I'm excited, really. So it's great.
Good. I
Yeah.
love this setup you have going on behind you with all the
Oh,
prints. That's awesome.
yeah, it's my own little studio here. So all my
Yeah.
landscape stuff on the walls. So.
Okay. Have you gotten a chance to do hangouts before? Are you pretty
Just with family, just a couple, nothing formal. So
okay?
I know
Um,
I know how to share and screen share. So I know a
Perfect.
few things about it. So I think
Okay.
I'm set for it. So.
Good. That's exactly what we're going to do then. You're going to go up and click this screen share button, and then whatever program you're using to show off your art,
Okay.
we'll go there. And you'll just tell me a little bit about the image and what went into creating it and how you feel you did. And then I'm going to critique you on a scale of 0 to 3. Nobody has gotten a 0 because that means why would you bring this to critique? And most people
Right.
have a good hands on their work.
Yeah.
One is that it shows promise, 2 is that it's a commendable image, and 3 is that it's exceptional, and I have no negative critique for it. So judging by the work on your walls, I'm expecting you'll leave with at least 1 or 2 of those. So
Hopefully.
ready when
I
you
know you'll
are.
be honest, so I like that stuff. All right.
All right.
So you got it?
Yeah?
All right.
So tell me about it.
So this, let me get it on my screen so I can see it, so I can talk about it. This was a shot in the old part of Vegas, and I was actually with shooting a little thing for the Frame Network. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them,
Mm-hmm.
but they were filming film season 2, and they let us take the models after they were set up and ready to go, and let us take them and kind of walk around by ourselves and take pictures. So this particular one, this guy happened to be driving by. We flagged him down, and he was nice enough to turn around and put her in with the portrait. So I think it looks kind of 50s, 60s, 70s, looking old Vegas.
I agree.
So I kind of tried to set it up like the viewer looks at it, not sure what she's doing, whether she's just a streetwalker or what she is. That's kind of the concept.
Mm-hmm. Um, I love the whole concept and the way we tied everything together. It's very well done in terms of the car and the wardrobe, and the retouching definitely lends to the idea of it being an older shot, even though it's shot today. So well done there. The model is losing it for me just because when you take the time to build a story, she has to be a part of the story, and she's not. She's posing in it.
Mm.
So she's beautiful. I love the sort of sideways rim light that you have coming at her and how that's framing her face, and the styling and the detail on it. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the folds of the fabric and the way that it falls, and we lost that because the car is blocking the sun from hitting anything below her waist.
Right.
So she looks a little bit flat from the waist down as a result, but I think that you could probably go in and post and pull that out a little bit with just a little bit of dodge and burn and playing a little bit with the levels and the curves. But it's really her pose that's ruining it. She gives beautiful face, which is usually where you see the disconnect, and you don't with her, but it's the angle of her body and the positioning of her hands and the stiffness of that. It looks like she's pulling up her dress a little bit, but if we're playing with the storyline of her being, like a call girl or a streetwalker, then she wouldn't be looking forward and off the edge of the car. She'd be propositioning the guy in the car, or if you want to pay attention to the fact that she's hiking up her skirt a little bit, you train the viewer to look where you want them to look by having the model look in the same place. So if she turned her face down and looked towards that hand, instinctively the viewers want to follow that line of vision and go, well, what is she looking at? So it helps to lend the story. I'm not particularly fond of her leg positioning. It's kind of an awkward stance with the way that her legs are parted. I think if you had her and kind of had her lean on the car, we would have gotten the line of her back and the curve all the way down, across the bum and the thighs. That would have pulled in the story a little bit more, but it's just kind of an awkward separation with this like wider than shoulder stance apart with legs that I think kind of just ruins the body language a little bit for me. So,
Yeah, I agree.
but I love everything else about the shot. It's a little bit gray. I like the toned down feel to it, but I think that you can keep that sort of vintage coloring without it necessarily being super flat. So I'd like to see it just a little bit more three-dimensional, I think. But it
Okay.
also doesn't kill it for me. So really, it's the models, the positioning of the model is probably the biggest pet peeve that I have with the image. But overall, I still think it's a really good shot. So I'm going to give you 2 for this one. I think it's commendable. I
Okay.
don't think you quite hit the mark, but it's definitely well on its way.
Right. No, I agree. Everything you said, I can see that.
Mm. Next
All right.
image.
Okay, this was kind of the same couple days I was shooting in Vegas with the
Wait,
frame
I'm
work.
still seeing the same girl.
Oh, I got it switched on the screen here.
Hmm. You're just in Google, right?
Yeah, I'm on Google Plus on the Arcanum or the cohort site.
Okay, you're logged into 2 places, so are we on 2 different screens? Are you moving it on the wrong screen, maybe?
I don't know.
Well, it's okay. Just go out and cancel the screen
How's
share.
that?
Oh, okay, there we go. Now, there
I
it is.
just I just re-clicked on screen share, so
Okay, there we go.
we'll
Okay,
figure it out. It's my first time.
that's all right. I'll be trouble.
Okay, so this image was shot in Vegas during the Frame Network thing that I was talking about,
Hmm.
and they were shooting these models, and then they let us kind of have them by ourselves again. It's a similar situation. In this particular one, I couldn't get both of them together, but I kind of like that concept. So what I did was this is just a composite,
Hmm.
some of my first composites. So it's got some weaknesses, I think, in his shadowing, but I kind of dig the whole composition, the whole look of it. So um, I had to basically place her separately, him separately, and the car separate. So there's 3 plus the background's a little bit different. So
Okay.
kind of the
Uh,
history behind it.
Now, were all 3 of these shot in that location, though, just at
Yeah,
different times?
they're all shot in this dry lake bed. I shot them all individually and posed them, but really didn't have anything in mind. I didn't have this. I just wanted them together by the car somehow. So that was kind of
Right.
the concept.
Okay.
So there's a little bit
I
of, I mean, there is some light issues because I really wasn't planning on this particular pose. So it just
Mhm.
kind of worked out once I saw them.
Yeah, there's a little bit because you have a really strong highlight on the car, so it's coming from like the left-hand side, so we should be seeing that on the models. The lighting is always the giveaway for composites all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Um, but I also think that the light is soft enough on the models that it doesn't destroy it. If I was shooting all 3 of them on the same kind of rock bed, I would be inclined to cut them out, but also keep what's underneath their feet or their bodies and blend that into the other background so that their shadows are their actual shadows, so they're grounded in because it's
Oh, okay.
easier to blend in the rock and the like the cracked surface and find where those line up than it is to fake the shadows and ground them in where they're not actually at. So
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
something to keep in mind for the
Yeah.
future. Um, I love the body language of all three of them. You did a very good job of positioning them in a way that makes him look like he's still looking at her, even though she wasn't in front of him at the time. So that's well done. Her body language is just beautiful. I love the line of her body in the front. She has an almost dancer-like feel to her. I would have liked to have seen that front arm come back just a little bit further so that we would have seen the line of her back, just a little bit more separation of space between her arm, because your eyes will read the thickness of her body from one side to the other. So right now we're adding on a couple of inches because it's reading to the back of her arm instead of to the back of her back.
Oh, okay.
So just having her pull that arm back just a little bit further so we got a little triangle of space would have created that separation and really added a lot of slenderness to her.
Right. Yep.
But that's nitpicking at it. I love the hair and the windblown look. The reflection on the car is beautiful. The car stands out a little bit more just because they have a very sort of flat lighting to them, and then there's this really sharp highlight on like the metal detailing in the windows of the car, and that reflection. So I think that's something that you would either have to punch up the contrast in the lighting on the models just a little bit, specifically towards the front and where the light should be on them relating to the car, or tone the car down just a little bit to sort of blend it in. It's just that one spot directly over his head that's so white,
right,
that kind of pulls you off the edge of the frame and kind of gives it away that it's, that it's all composited in together. But overall, it works really well as a composite, and it's really well done to the point that the untrained eye, I don't think, would pick up on it.
yeah.
Photographers,
Most of my friends don't notice it, but they're not
yeah,
either. So.
photographers, half of them would, and only if they were looking for it. So
Yeah.
I could tell that he was composited. She looks like she was put in. Like she looks like she was there. Like that's the original shot, and you added him in the car to it. So
Yeah.
she's very, very well done if she was dropped in as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did struggle with him, but
yeah.
it came to a point where I think I used every bit of knowledge I had at the time. So.
Yeah, and really, like, some of it, like, knowledge will only take you so far. If you shot all three of them separate and at separate points in the day, and the light was on different sides, like, you can only fake so much in Photoshop, no matter how good you are.
Right.
You can't change. You can sort of alter and add and manipulate the light a little bit, but you can't change where it is. Like on him, you can tell the highlights are on the top of his shirt, like the blinds going down, so the light is overhead and he's got this highlight on his arm. So the light should be coming, according to him, from like up and behind her. But according to the car, it's coming from behind them. And according to her, she's very sort of flat lighted, but you can still see the highlights on the front of her arms and the front of her legs. And, the clothing gives it away because you can see the ribbing and the wrinkling in the fabric. And that will always tell you where the light was and where the shadow is, depending on where it throws the highlights and the shadows in the shirt. So
right.
That's your biggest giveaway and things to pay attention to. But I don't know that this image would necessarily work if you position them so that the light was right in all of them, because then you have composition issues where they're all kind of looking off in different directions and the car doesn't fit. And so you kind of have to choose between the two. Composites work really well when you know you're doing a composite to start with, and you can pay attention to those things from the beginning.
Right.
But overall, I still think it's incredibly well done for a composite, and the giveaways are subtle enough that if you're not looking for them, you won't see them. So I'm going to give this one a very, very high 2. It's almost a 3 for me. It's him that throws it off and made it the most noticeable off the bat. So
okay.
Things to keep in mind. So, next one.
All right.
Okay.
Did it work this time or not?
Yeah, I see a mermaid.
Okay.
Okay. So tell me about this one.
Okay, so this one was Miss Aniela's shoot in the Hamptons, and I know you're familiar with it, a lot of people aren't. So she gets a stylist who is Leonid Gurevich and styles and does all the hair and makeup, and then we as photographers just kind of get a certain room to shoot the model in. So
Okay.
she doesn't help us, she doesn't set them up. So this is kind of my first experience at shooting fashion. Um, so this is a Leonid made this dress with just a huge tulle dress, and we laid it out on the floor and tried to kind of shoot down on her. So I don't really think I added any of this dress in. It's just a huge dress.
Mm.
So I composited in the mermaid tail and then the little armbands. Those are the only things that were composited in, but I just kind of envisioned her being in the sea of yellow ocean water. Um,
I like the concept of it. And oddly enough, I don't know if you know this, but the second house in JLark used to be Miss Aniela's house. She actually started
yes,
and had to step down.
I
So
did see some of that in some of the comments and stuff. So yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, she does beautiful work. I love her work. Um,
The first time I went
so
with her, I thought, "Oh, this is going to be awesome. She's going to teach us." But it was kind of you're on your own, which is actually a good way to learn. So
it's a very good way to learn. It should be a good blend of both, I think.
yeah,
You know, like it's good to have instruction, but eventually, you know, you have to step off the training wheels, and you learn by doing. So, but if you have a good bit of instruction, it shortens the learning curve, I think. So,
yeah, that's true.
this is really pretty. I love the light on her face. The armbands are very well composited in the tail. I can totally tell is added on, and part of that is understanding body language. Even though we kind of lose the majority of her figure in this dress, what you can see, I'm willing to bet money on the fact that her knees are coming forward in front of her, whether she was sitting on them or whether they're kind of like forward and to the side, but they're not behind her, so the tail wouldn't be behind her in theory.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
you can see it very strongly on the front line of her body where the highlight is hitting that the dress on the midsection, that it's going straight down. And if she was leaning that way, that line would curve back to the tail. So the tail looks out of place because it's not making sense in the physiology of what her figure would be doing, if that was coming out and it was this sort of yellow sea. Um,
Okay.
it's also really hard, and it takes a lot of time and patience when you're doing this, because part of the problem is that the fabric is sheer, so you should be able to see bits and pieces of the tail through the fabric if it's one or two tufts of it coming up. Um, so this is one of those games where if you're going to do these kind of composites where you're layering layers in front and behind, that you just really have to take an enormous amount of time and meticulous surgeon-like precision cutting out the pieces to put in front and layering the opacity of them so that they layer on top of themselves to make it a little more believable. Um, and honestly, if we're getting into it, I think that if you cropped this as a portrait shot and just got rid of the tail, that it's a stronger shot. I like the idea of the mermaid, but um, I don't think that it's really doing you any favors
Oh, okay.
here, or saving the shot. But I do think that it's a beautiful portrait. I love her connection with the camera. I love her big hair. She's got like this one little tuft coming out on towards the back of her head that I'd be inclined to want to clone pieces of and just kind of make her hair a little bit bigger so that it's not like this bump on the back of her head. Um, but I love the shot itself, and I actually really love the armbands too. I think those are really, really well done as composites fitting in, and I think that they add um, to the ensemble because she has all this blue in her necklaces.
Right.
So I like that, but the tail is a fail for me.
Okay.
So I'm going to give this one a 1. I think that it shows promise. I totally see where you were going with it. I just don't think the execution matched the idea that you had for it.
Okay.
Next one.
That come through?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me about this one.
This one is another Miss Agnella in the same house in the Hamptons. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous mansion and these hand-painted walls. And so I wanted to get the model in that kind of the flow of what was going on with the natural painting. So gave her some vines growing up her leg to act like she was maybe infatuated with vines, and her vine tattoos bleeding up her legs coming out her neck, just to kind of give the viewer something to imagine where the rest of the vines are at.
Mm.
So
Okay, so
that was
those.
kind of my thought. So the things were composited in were the vines at the floor and going up her legs,
Okay.
and any of the tattoos.
Okay. The tattoos are very well done. If they're composited in, and that's really hard to do, to wrap them around so that they're believable around the shapes of things. So that's well done. I'm not sold on the orange vines coming up the floor and around her legs. Again, I love the concept of it, um, but I think that you're adding these elements of non-believability because they don't look like actual vines.
Right.
Where I don't think that there's enough of the artistry that it fills into the idea that it's supposed to be like a digital painting meets photograph. It's just these little elements, so it comes off as beginner attempts, which aren't a bad thing. I love the concepts that you're coming up with. Every single image, the concept has been excellent. I think it's just a little bit of the execution and kind of finding your voice here in the beginning. So I
Right.
totally see what you were doing with it, and I love and follow the thought process of the vines being the same color orange that is in the majority of her outfit. But I don't necessarily know that that part is working. I love the corner of the room and the styling and how you have her. I would have been, and this is where having workshops and having the instructors there to help helps. With the angle that you have her at, as far up as she has her leg on the wall, we lose a lot of the length and the shape of her foot. So it almost gets amputated because of the line of vision with it going straight back. I'd have had you bring it almost to the floor. Like, you can have it up enough that you get that nice line to her knee and that angular bend. But when you bring it straight back, it almost deforms her leg because of the perspective that we see it at. And the problem with doing really big couture clothes like this is that you lose a lot of the figure. So she looks very top heavy because of all of this fabric and shapes coming out from essentially her waist to her elbows. So we're losing all of that figure. So having her pull that hand that's on the brim of her hat out just a little bit would have created a little bit of separation so that it doesn't go from her elbow attaching to her midsection, so that we can actually see the upper arm on that side.
Okay.
But her legs look incredibly sexy. You're doing very well at making sure that you're paying attention to where she is in relation to the light, and so the lighting is very flattering on every single one of your models, and it's definitely true in this case. I love the composition and where you're seeing the shots. I think there's just they're very subtle things that I think you're going to be able to very quickly correct, and once you do, your work is just going to start astounding people. So I'm going to give this one a very high 2 as well. I think it's really well done. There's just a couple of little tweaks with the posing, and I think that I would nix the orange vines at the bottom.
Okay. Sounds good. Ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm. Okay, tell me about this one.
Okay, so this is the first model that we saw earlier from Miss Danielle. This was the different wardrobe change because I stayed for 2 days because I enjoyed it so much. Um, and I love the look of the images when they're 20s look or film noir look. So I was kind of trying to go for that a little bit, and I started cropping it and felt that it just fit well with that, with her hat and earrings and the look at her eyes, kind of that film look, which I love watching films. So I try to shoot things in that make it that film look anyway.
Yeah, and you definitely accomplished that with this one. I love this shot. Her styling is fabulous. I love the little bit of catch lights in her eyes. I would have liked to have seen it just a little bit more in the far eye, because you almost have like this split lighting going on. And I think if we had turned her just a little more to the light, I love the angle of you and her, but I would have wanted to shift her just a little bit so that we don't get that offshoot of the shadow by her neck.
Oh, right.
I'd like to, and it's because of the fabric that's at the top of her dress. I don't know if it's like a flower, but like the whiter fabric is putting the shadows onto her neck because of the lighting positioning. So if we had shifted that just a little, I think it would have made all the difference in the world. But I love the mood that you have in this. It does have that 1920s dark, gritty film kind of feel to it, and I think that's very charming and visually romantic as a whole. And her eyes are just piercing, which for me that's like, if you don't nail the eyes in a portrait, then you lost the photograph, and here you've just hit it 100%. This is my favorite image that you've brought
Oh, thank you.
so far. So I'm gonna give this one a 3. I think this is the best that I've seen from you so far.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's some of those things like on the neck where I didn't notice it at the time, but I mean I'm really new to this, so those are the kind of things that I want to really key in on next time when I do my shoots.
Yeah, keep in mind, like, I'm brutal. Like, I'm brutal in critique, but it's all done with tough love. And you'll note if you're watching, like, the difference between people at level 4 and level 9, just 4 levels later, is usually astounding because of how much they put in. But I only beat on you if I think that you have potential and I want to take you from good to great. So if I'm pulling apart your images, it's because they're really good, and I want to push them over into the exceptional thing. So don't get discouraged.
No, I won't. I appreciate your honesty, and that's what I liked about you. So I got big shoulders. I can take it, and I see the things you're talking about, and I've watched a bunch of your critiques, so I know you're honest, and that's what I want. I don't. There's too many people just say, "Oh, it looks beautiful," and really don't.
Right, which is great for our egos.
Oh, because I'll just do another one the same way. So that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Okay. So you can turn off the screen share. And so this is our first critique in one-on-one. I'm super excited. Tell me a little bit about why you joined the Arcanum and where you're looking to go with your artistry. You've all these beautiful landscapes behind you, but you brought all portraits to critique. So
yeah, I know. I started out doing landscape or commercial work and did some, because I'm a home builder by trade, so that's what I do for a living.
Oh, okay.
And so I could have come out and did your bathroom while you're in Vegas, but I didn't look close enough to you. So.
I got a whole edition thing going on in the near future. We're gonna talk about that. I mean, we can relook.
Swap out some work there.
Yeah, I see lots of 3s in your next critique.
That's
I'm
right.
just saying.
I could
okay, so
do a room edition while I'm out shooting with you. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so I kind of started with doing some commercial work, architectural, because that's kind of my business, and I love architecture. So then started introducing some of the models into my architecture pictures, which I like that. So I've just been kind of growing in my photography over the past 5 years, I guess. So I did a lot of landscape, and I like that, but to me, it just got kind of boring. Although sunset beautiful.
Okay.
Kind of went on. So I shoot weddings too now, and I'm in just start my 3rd year of weddings. At first, I absolutely loved them, and now I've kind of started losing the love for it. So I always said if I don't have that passion for it, then I don't want to do it. So, you get those good family fun times, and then you get some mother-in-law that's not happy, and so I don't know. I don't enjoy as much as I used to, but I still have 12 weddings this year and a full-time home builder, so I stay busy. Plus, I have another business of a brochure business where I do photography and put brochures together for builders.
Okay.
Besides that, I have plenty of
That's
time. So I love photography, and I have a really strong passion for it. I'm building $1 million house now, but my mind is looking at photography. So,
okay. So what's the goal? What's the goal with photography then? Are you looking to switch over to that and monetize that and do that full time? Do you like
yeah,
doing
that's kind of my.
art?
I love building, so I have like several occupations that I absolutely love. But I do want to kind of. I'm in my 50s, so I want to start transitioning. I mean, ideally, stronger into photography, which is less backbreaking than building.
Okay.
So I kind of want to work in that direction. I'd be like, if I could be like Trey Radcliffe and travel the world and take pictures and that'd be fun. But
Okay.
and I know you could help me get there, even though it
Okay.
sounds unrealistic.
I don't think it sounds unrealistic at all. If it was unrealistic, Trey wouldn't do it.
Right,
Most of what we think is unrealistic is really just our way of saying we don't understand how to get from where we are to where that place is.
right,
Um, and the easiest way to do that is to very clearly define where it is that you actually want to go. I don't know. Did you get to sit in on Morgan's critique
yeah, I
earlier
did.
this morning?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So he's like, I don't want to monetize because I don't want to lose the passion. I'm probably going to start doing portraits because I want to monetize that and it's easier.
right,
So
yeah,
you can see like the breakdown. A lot of it is just, trying to work out where our priorities are and more importantly, why. So, um, you're creating these beautiful $1 million homes and you like being a contractor, but maybe you don't want to do all that backbreaking labor because my husband's like tired after just doing the
right,
bathroom, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, so you said you love that, but you're thinking your mind's in photography. So where does it go? Where do you want to be in photography?
That's so I wasn't stressed about talking about anything, but that one's kind of still a little puzzling to me. I'm not sure 100%. I can't sit here and say this is what I want to do, but I do want to come up with a goal with your help of trying to work in that direction of where I'm going to
Okay.
be 5 years from now. Or so, but
Okay.
I don't really have a complete handle on it at this time.
So you've lost a little bit of the love for weddings, but you have 12 on the books. Let's talk
Right?
about that
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem when you book something out a year in advance. So I still will put my heart in and do everything I can, but it's just um, I don't know. It's for the kind of money that I make on a wedding, and all the time I put into it and pull away from it. So the passion's not there. Like it, like at first I thought this was great because we had some really great weddings, but there's not enough time to do anything creative. I don't think necessarily when you're in a wedding. It's just, and I think that's part of it. I try to pull the bride and groom away, and then they'll say, "Well, we got to get back to the reception," and so then I try to do reception shots, and they're all busy talking and having fun. So it's that kind of takes the passion away from what I want. I don't want to just take a picture of the bride and groom and mom and dad and everybody together. So, and you've gone through it, so I think you probably know what I'm talking about it.
I did, and I was the same way. I loved weddings when I started. I'm a hopeless romantic, but I love teaching, and it was just they were coming into conflict, and I made way more. I was making $8,000 to $12,000 a wedding, so it was a big chunk of change to go. Okay, I'm not going to do those, 10 to 20 weddings a year. That's a lot of money that I'm setting aside,
Right.
and I do not make anywhere near that teaching. Um, so, but I love it,
Yeah, I think
and
the passion's more important to me than the money. I mean, I still need to make money, so it's not like I definitely want to put a monetary value to it. But if your
yeah, and
heart's not there, then it's not the same thing.
well, the problem is that if your heart's not in it, and people see this over and over again. No matter how much money you're making, money can be a strong motivator, but if your heart is not in it, um, you lose it.
Yeah.
You get burnt out and your heart's not in it. So the work's not good. And that's where people start to lose a lot of their fortune and their money as a result of that. The other thing is that at the end of it, while you do have to pay for your lifestyle, but if you have $1 million sitting in the bank on the day you die, it doesn't do you any good.
Right.
And if you made yourself miserable and worked yourself to the bone in something you're not passionate about, then you wasted the one thing that is more valuable than money, which is your time,
Right.
and we're to the point now where we're, a third to halfway through our lives. Like, we're running out of it,
Yeah.
So I'm always pushing people to find what really lights them on fire and then go chase the matches.
Right.
Because you'll get this, when your time here is done, there will be these beautiful homes that you built, that hold these families in them and have these stories within the walls and generations of things, and they will live on for decades and centuries beyond when you were here, even if people don't realize that you're the person that built it. And it's the same way with photographs. Like, I didn't start wondering about who took pictures until I became a photographer. Like, now I went through my grandmother's wedding album and said, do you remember the photographer that took them? Partially because I was curious if anybody's going to remember the wedding I shot 50 years from now.
Right.
But you don't think about that. But like, those are heirlooms, and those are the homes that build families. Like, it's those are powerful things to build. So I'd be more interested to see you pursue what you're really passionate about. If you have the weddings on the books because you booked them, you're doing exactly what I did. But if you don't have that feeling, then I would challenge you to not book anymore, because you're just taking time away and putting it towards something that, yes, is making you money, but that all of that time is time that you're taking away from the ability to build up something that you are really passionate about that can make you just as much money.
Right.
And that was the trade-off. Like, when I gave up weddings, I was making like $1,000 to $2,000 a portrait session. Now I don't make less than $2,500 a session. So I can shoot 4 studio sessions and be completely creative and make the same amount of money that I would have if I had shot a wedding that weekend. So it's just a trade-off, but I needed the time to put in to do that. So what is it that you want to spend your time doing?
Well, I mean, I would love to spend my time just planning shoots and shooting, so I do enjoy that.
Okay.
And so I think for me, it's easy to probably transition from a wedding to do something else, but to shoot something else. But then financially, that's trying to figure out how that can be financial. So passing, sliding away from the construction part is another part of the equation. But
okay, so we're looking to slide away from everything and just focus on photography. That's
right.
the ideal.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would be enough money for you to walk away from everything else? If I was just going to send you a check every month and you never had to worry about working for the sake of making money, if I was just going to send you $10,000 a month every month, what would you do with your time?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably a couple $1,000s a week would be enough to transition.
Okay. Define a couple, like 2 or like 5?
Well, like 2 or 3,000.
Okay. So you're looking at like $8,000 to $15,000 a month is perfect for you.
Right.
That would be comfortable.
That would be comfortable. Yeah.
Okay. And then what would you do with your time? What do you want to shoot? What gets you excited to get up every day? What do you want to shoot for free?
For free.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd love to be able to shoot fashion. I like fashion.
Okay.
So I really enjoy that, putting the whole thing together. I've done, I don't know if you've seen a few with my daughter, so that's kind of my little mini session with her. She's getting ready to go off to college, so I've been shooting her and some different things. So that's been fun.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Um, so you brought quite a few of the composites to critique too. Talk to me a little bit about them.
Um, I think with me, I just enjoy challenging myself, and I love to be challenged.
Okay.
I have a really strong positive attitude that I believe you can do anything. Um, and it's kind of the way my dad brought me up. So he was going to be a builder his whole life, but he kept saying, "Oh, I don't think I can do it." So he ended up being a carpenter his whole life, which is okay. But he kind of instilled in me that positive thought. So
Okay. So, um, when your children talk about you and growing up, what do you want them to say that you were?
now that I motivated them to think positive and succeed, and so far it's been a little bit of a struggle with them, just because as a father, I try to set more example rather than teach. So there's a, as you know, being a parent, you'll see that.
Well, they do, and they will follow your example more than your advice. So
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah.
mentality. Okay. All right. So we're looking to grow. We're definitely going to stay towards the portraiture, the composites, and the fashion kind of photography. Where do you feel like, on an artistic level, where do you feel like you need the most work?
On a what? On a what? I'm sorry.
On just an artistic level, like with lighting and posing and composition and retouching, where do you feel your strengths are and where do you feel like you need some help?
I think I need probably help everywhere. My strength is visualizing something.
I'll agree with that already.
A lot of what I have a lot of like a little sketchboard of tons of these where I have something set up where I'm going to shoot. So I have,
Okay.
and that's probably from being a builder too. You have to envision things and see the big picture. So a lot of my stuff's a bigger, grander scale. Say compared to Morgan, where I noticed he shoots like my son, where it's a lot of small details. So my son and I go out and I see this big giant. Oh, look how beautiful it is. He's over keying in on a beer bottle laying next to the curb.
Nice.
So I don't know if that's a probably a strength, but it's a strength in my style of putting
Okay.
together a whole picture.
Sounds good. Okay. So what are you looking for from me in the next 5 levels? What is it that you would like the
Ideally, I would
focus to
want
be?
you to from your personal experience see where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, and maybe push me. I love to be pushed because I just believe I can. I believe I can do anything. So I think that's a good thing rather than saying, oh, I can't do that. I'm kind of just the opposite. I feel I could shoot as good as anybody in the world. I could build a house as good as anyone in the world.
That's
And
good because that's the hardest thing to teach.
if you if I have know too many people that say, well, I can't do that. Why can't you do it? Even some in our cohort are a little reluctant about what they can do, and they can be truly successful, but you have to believe you can. So I would, ideally, I'd want you to push me in a direction that gets me to step up to the next level. And I
Good.
can and I can do those kind of things myself at a maybe a slower pace and maybe not as definitely not the same, but that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay. Well, that's good, and I'm glad that you have that good sense. I think that a lot of times, because there are so many people that feel insecure and second guess, we're also taught to be humble, which is a wonderful thing. But I think that a lot of times people start to confuse the idea that being confident in your strengths is ego or conceit, and it's not.
Yeah,
So it's really hard in a lot of the untraining that we have to do, especially with moody artists that are sensitive of their work. They're very sensitive, and we have to build up thick skin. So the fact that you have one means that I'm going to beat on you harder than I am
that's
everybody else in the cohort. So
that's good.
thanks for volunteering for that.
I
You've
will
just become
volunteer that
this
100%. So
good. Um,
I'll be
but I
I'll be the poster child of being beat on and watch the difference.
Good. Well, then you're the first person from House 3 that's gonna get a homework assignment. So my goal for you in the next couple of days, having gone through, is to kind of go through and rewatch your critique, and then um, I would like to see just a statement from you on what you want to be known as far as an artist. So when people talk about you years from now and decades from now and centuries from now and they talk about this photographer Scott guy, what is it that you want to have created and what is it that you want to be known for? And bonus points if you put up some photos that are similar work that you go, this is what I want to create. Like you talked about having that grand visualization.
Uh,
Find me some good inspiration points and go, this is where I want to go with it. This is what I want to do. Because the easiest way to get you to where you want to be financially and artistically is to have a very, very clear perspective of where it is that you're trying to get to.
okay.
So a lot of people come in and they say, you know, I want to shoot portraits and I want to make a lot of money. And that's like saying I want to go visit the USA.
Right.
Like, it's a big place. Let's hone in. And you're like, well, you know, I want to do portraits and I want to make at least somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 a week. Now we've like narrowed it down to the East Coast, you know?
Right.
So the further we go, then all of a sudden it's, I want to go visit Philadelphia, Pennsylvania and hang out with JLark. And now we've got like a pinpoint on the map that we can put in. So right now we're kind of like, we've got the general idea of what country we're going to. So we just want to hone that in. So that's your goal for the rest of the next 5 levels.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about while we have some one-on-one time?
Um, I don't know. Just maybe your opinion, like the close-up portrait of the film noir. You think you're drawn more to that than say the bigger ones? Is that just your personal thought, or is that what you think that I was stronger in?
It's both. I think that you're absolutely correct in the fact that you have strong visualization. I loved the concept of every image. And for a lot of people, that's really tough to come up with. They have a really hard time seeing the shot before they take it, and you don't. So the rest can be taught. The rest is just execution. I think that you do a good job of understanding where the light should be, but not. You could use a little bit of work on being able to visually represent that a little bit stronger. A lot of your images are a little bit flat on the lighting, and I'd like to see them a little bit more three-dimensional so that they come to life. And that can be accomplished in camera and in post, and I'm fine with either. I'm not one of those photographers that says get it right in camera. Just get it right. I don't care how you do it. Just do it. So I think that a good exercise for you too would actually be to step away from photography a little bit and go study painters, people that do figure paintings, some of the older, more well-known. There's a reason why we call it Rembrandt light, because he
Right.
would sit all of his people by windows and would have that three-quarter light, and it would create that triangle. So, if you want to go to the master, go to the one that it's named after, and
Right.
just study. I think a lot of the reason that lighting came very easily to me was because I did oil paintings and I did a lot of figure studies in high school and college, long before I ever picked up a camera. So you think it's hard to get the light on the person, try painting it.
Yeah.
Um, so
I have studied, looked into a little bit of that because I find it intriguing what the old masters' photos look like. So lately I've been trying to shoot some of my um, bigger scenes with multiple lights and trying not the composites. I try to set the whole thing up so it's not a composite, so it was real.
that's an awesome thing too. I'm gonna give you the most interesting, boring assignment that you've ever had. What I want you to do is I want you to take a corner of your room and I want you to get some computer paper and you're gonna take 3 sheets of it and you're gonna put one and just tape it to the wall in each corner so that it makes an angle, and one on the floor, and then get an egg. And if you want to learn how to light well, play with lights, like even like, the flashlight apps on your cell phone or lamps and stuff and move the light around and understand how to get light and harsh shadows and not lose the highlights and accentuate with a round white object that is surrounded by white. Doing high key and low key. It is the most boring assignment that will not create any kind of work for you whatsoever, but it will teach you a lot about light really, really quickly. And I can't even remember who gave me that assignment a couple of years ago or where I heard that from, but I tried it, and it was amazingly tedious, but I saw instant change in my work and how I understood how the light related to each other with different things.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen something like that, so yeah, I'll do that.
And don't explain either. Like, do it in the middle of your kitchen so that when your family comes home, they're like, Dad's lost it.
Right? They think that anyway.
So
then I'll send you my best egg picture then.
That's awesome. Yeah, post it in the group. That sounds
Right.
amazing. So.
Okay.
But no, I think you're right. I think your visualization is definitely your strong point, and I think that you have a little bit of my artist syndrome where you have these great grandiose ideas that you want to accomplish, so you do everything on a big scale, which is probably why you're a phenomenal builder and contractor too. But the thing that really makes those grandiose images so exceptional is the attention to detail and the ability to master what is really foundation level things. And I'm totally speaking from experience because I didn't do that at all.
Yeah.
But the learning curve of picking those things up little by little is what will really make your images exceptional and put you on the same playing field as everybody else that you already know that you can be just as good as. You're absolutely right. I see the potential for it. It's very, very apparent and very easy to see in there. It's just a couple of little things that you have to pinpoint and perfect that'll really set it over the top.
That's great to have you by my side showing me.
Absolutely. Well, it's you. You're going to do it. I'm just going to keep elbowing you and beating on you while you are.
That's all right.
So, all right. Well, you passed level 4 with flying colors.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. I will see you again at level 9.
Okay. Look forward to the adventure. Bye.
Okay. Bye.